Blessed Sabbath to you all. I want to welcome you all in BSM TV live streaming studies on a Sabbath day, so we can enjoy the Sabbath. I want to wish you all a good Sabbath today, a blessed Sabbath, a feast actually convocating together over the internet so that we can share and prepare and better able to stand for the day of the Lord. So I want to welcome you all and have a blessed Sabbath. Last week we were talking about the preparation for the coming of Christ, and we still remember that we're reading from Christ's collection in the spirit of prophecy. We will continue to prepare because that's our major theme, to be ready on the last day. For we don't want to miss that mark. When Christ comes, we will better able to understand when he has come that the coming was so short. He will come and we realize that he was not really far at this date. So on this date, the 29th of August, we should know that it's nearer the coming of Christ. So let's recap on the third angel's message to see how we can prepare from that angel's message to the time of the coming of Christ. So let us read from the quotation from 1888. Why I like that year is the year that we missed a mark when A.T. Jones and Waggoner came to boost the message from Sister White and giving the ceremonial system as well. We rejected these guys. So that's why we have to start from there. We have to start from the time we rejected so that we can pull through to the time Christ comes. So we are reading from the quotation on 1888 message. Just Google 1888 space 217. We start from the third paragraph. Let us read from there. That's where we start from while we are still in the third angel's message, right? Read for me.
The third angel's message is the proclamation of the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus Christ.
Right. Just let's start from there. What is the third angel's message? It is the proclamation of the commandments of God, not only the commandments of God, but the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Right? I woke up about 4 o'clock today and found somebody saying, Blessed Sabbath, will us enjoy keeping the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus? Then I said, that's good. But I said in that Facebook account, I said, yes, the keeping of Sabbath we have seen is fine. But what is questionable is the commandment, the faith of Jesus. That's the questionable part. Somebody inboxed me and said, what do you mean? Then I said, okay, that's where we need to discuss today. The faith of Jesus. We have heard so much about the commandments of God. But what about this faith of Jesus? Because we are being told by Sister White, the third angel's message is the proclamation of the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Let's dwell on the faith of Jesus today, because I don't think anyone wants to know what the commandments of God are, because we already know the 10 commandments. But we are talking of the faith of Jesus. That's the second portion, which is very critical at this hour. What is it? What is the faith of Jesus? That's where we the commandments of God, everyone say, oh, we are commandment keeping, we are commandment. But the second portion is where we are failing. So today, let's study and see what is this faith of Jesus. Right, read on.
The commandments of God have been proclaimed.
Right.
But the faith of Jesus Christ, has not been proclaimed by the Adventists as equal importance.
Right. Did you hear that? It's coming from 1888 message, 217, third paragraph. And it's clear enough, the spirit of prophecy is saying, the commandments of God have been proclaimed. That's what Sister White proclaimed from 1844. But what has not been proclaimed is the faith of Jesus. So that's why we have to do. We cannot hope in the cloud when the faith of Jesus is not known. Otherwise, we will lose the mark when we don't know the second portion of our faith. This is a pillar of our faith. Our pillar is we have to proclaim the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Those two, they are the ones that make us a people. We are a people when we have those two. Not only the Sabbath only, and the Sabbath and the command. That's why people say, they tease us and say, you are only on the 10 commandments, on the Sabbath and Sabbath. Why? Because they do not see us on the faith of Jesus. What is it? You know, some people call it a blanket statement, faith of Jesus, and they call it anything. But we should know today what the faith of Jesus is. Now, read, the commandments of God have been proclaimed. That one we have done 10 out of 10. Right? I don't know whether we are keeping the 10 commandments. Then if we are, it's 10 out of 10. But what about the faith of Jesus? Read on.
The commandments of God have been proclaimed.
Right.
But the faith of Jesus Christ has not been proclaimed by Adventists as of equal importance.
Right.
The law and the gospel go in hand in hand.
Right. So these two, the 10 commandments and the gospel, you know, it says the law and the gospel. So there's something called gospel, which is not 10 commandments, because it says the law and the gospel, they should go hand in hand. So when you say you've got a gospel, what do you mean? Because here we have the law, which is the 10 commandments, but the gospel is the faith of Jesus. These two go hand in hand. Read on.
I cannot find language to express this subject in its fullness.
Right. So Sister White is saying, I can't really find language to express this fullness so that we understand we got to keep the faith of Jesus. We cannot brag of commandments, because almost every church has got commandments now. But what makes us a people is the faith of Jesus. This faith of Jesus, Sister White said, it has not been, every Advent movement has not proclaimed it. So she cannot express that. She's failing to find a language to break into our brains and proclaim the faith of Jesus. What is it that should prepare us to meet Christ? Without the gospel, that should be. Now, let's read on the next paragraph there on point 4. Same paragraph. It says, the faith of Jesus. Let's see, what is it?
The faith of Jesus. It is talked of, but
Right.
not understood.
Do you see? So, happy commandment keepers and faith of Jesus. How? We are talking about it, isn't it? But when you ask, where is this faith of Jesus? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Because here Sister White is also saying, the faith of Jesus, it is talked of, but not understood. Imagine, we are waiting for the coming of Christ, but we do not know what the faith of Jesus is. And the Spirit of Prophecy confirms, we talk about it, but we don't know it. We don't even understand it. Read on.
What constitutes the faith of Jesus?
What is this faith of Jesus? What constitutes it? What exactly do we mean when we say we have the faith of Jesus? What is it that we mean? Right?
What constitutes the faith of Jesus?
Right?
That belongs to the third angel's message.
It belongs. You know, you are even proclaiming with 3 angels flying, but you don't know what they're saying, because there should be the faith of Jesus along with the third angel's message. It should be together. But why should we talk about it when we don't know it? When we're not even in the faith of Jesus? Why are we talking about it? We say we are ready to go and hope in the cloud, but where is the faith of Jesus? We have the commandments, But where is the faith of Jesus? Right, read on.
Jesus becoming our sin bearer, that he might become our sin pardoning Savior.
Right,
He was treated as we deserve to be treated.
right,
He came to our world and took our sins that we might take his righteousness.
what is it that constitutes the job that Christ came to perform as a sin freeing us from the sin on the cross? What is it? Is it the 10 Commandments? No. There is something that he calls gospel that proves he came to die for us, for our sins. What is it? And that is the gospel. What gospel is it? Because we have been told that there are two in the third angel's message. It comprises of two. One, the law of God, and the faith of Jesus. And then it says the law and the gospel. So the other portion is called gospel. The first portion is called law, which is the 10 Commandments. The second portion is called faith of Jesus or gospel. So what is it? But the gospel part is the one that confesses the job which Christ came to perform by dying on the cross. So we talk about it, but we don't know what it is. And it's got to prepare us for the coming of God. Now, read on.
Faith in the ability of Christ to save us amply and fully and entirely is the faith of Jesus.
Right. Did you hear what is faith? The faith of Jesus is faith in the ability of Christ to save us amply and fully and entirely. This is the faith of Jesus. What is it? For Jesus dying on the cross to save us. Right? Amply and fully. What is it that shows that? It's not the 10 Commandments. There is something that is in the faith of Jesus, or that is called the gospel. What is it? The portion that shows he came to save us. He came to give us righteousness. With that gospel, what is it? Let's read on, right? I want us to go to another text. Point 2 there. Sorry, not point 2. Let's go to Naomi. The Bible should tell us what the gospel is. The Bible should say what it means by saying gospel. Naomi 1 verse 15. What is the gospel? What is it? What is the gospel? Because the gospel is not the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is the law. But what is, because people have a tendency of referring to the 10 Commandments and saying, it's the gospel. The 10 Commandments is not the gospel. It's the law. But we need the gospel, which is the faith of Jesus, which should be together with the 10 Commandments, with the law. So Naomi 1 verse 15 will tell us what the gospel is, right?
Behold, upon the mountains, the feet of him that bringeth good tidings,
right,
that publisheth peace.
Right.
O Judah, keep thy solemn feast,
right,
perform thy vows,
right.
For the wicked shall no more pass through thee, he is utterly cut off.
Right. You see what the gospel? O Judah, perform thy vow. What is the vow? Keep thy solemn feast. That's the gospel of the kingdom. The gospel which Matthew chapter 24 verse 14 say, this gospel of the kingdom. Read on Matthew 24 verse 14. Yeah.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations.
So now, do we understand what the faith of Jesus is? Naomi says, it is the solemn feast. Perform the vow, for the wicked shall be cut off. So if the feet of the one that brings good tidings, or that brings the gospel, is the proclamation of the feast. Now, what is the gospel? It is the proclamation of the feast. And now, this gospel of the feast is on Matthew chapter 24. This gospel, what is it? It didn't say this commandment. He said, the gospel of the kingdom shall be proclaimed throughout the whole world. Which gospel is proclaimed throughout the whole world? The gospel of the faith of Jesus. Or what is it? The gospel of the feasts is what will make the whole world lighten with the glory of God and preparation for the kingdom. It says, Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. Read it again.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
So you know now which gospel of the kingdom is it. Go back to Nahum chapter 1, verse 15.
Behold, upon the mountains the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feast, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off.
So what is the gospel which brings good tidings? It's the gospel of the feast. And this gospel is going to be preached throughout the whole world for a witness, and the end shall come. So here it says in Nahum, for the wicked, read where it talks about the wicked.
For the wicked shall no more pass through thee.
Now, if the righteous is proclaiming the good tidings of the feast, of the solemn feast, what about the wicked? It's the other way around. Do you understand? Wickedness is being the other way around. You know, the only thing that we should ask ourselves is, do we know the reason why God selected Israel out of Egypt? Why? Why was he doing all that? Why did he select them out of Egypt so that they come out and go to Canaan? Why exactly? Now, I will give you the answer. Let's go back to a book called Ash. A book called Ash. It's, you spell it with capital letters and say A-R-S-H. It only means Advent Review Sabbath School. That's the book in the second estate of Ellen White. Ash from October 22, 1861, page 161.10, which is the 10th paragraph. Right. Start where it says, when God brought the children of Israel. On the 10th paragraph.
161.10.
161.10. You don't even need to do that on your screen. If you scroll, it is the very first one. Anyway.
Okay, found it.
When
God brought the children of Israel out of Egypt to possess the land of Canaan, he did so to fulfill the promise made to Abraham 430 years before.
Did you hear the reason? When God brought the children of Israel out of Egypt to possess the land of Canaan, he did so to fulfill the promise made to Abraham. That's the portion I'm looking for. How many years? 430 years before. And read on, let's see. We will go to the promise which was done to Abraham, right?
But we must not think, because God will fulfill his promise to Israel, that he does so unconditionally.
Right?
Though God says that he does not bring them into the promised land because of any righteous of theirs, yet he will not do so while they live in willful disobedience.
Right?
This is evident when we reflect upon the fact that Israel was kept in the wilderness 40 years, and only 2 of the original number permitted to enter the Canaan.
Right?
Because they followed the Lord fully, the others failing in the wilderness because they sinned.
So it says, when he selected Israel out of Egypt, it was not just something that he was, because he had promised Abraham. He had made a promise to Abraham. That's why he went after them when they were in Egypt. You know how they went into Egypt? Through Joseph. right? So when Joseph, there was famine, you remember this 7 years of famine and 7 years of Joseph, after interpreting that dream, is the one who made sure that all the people will come and look for food in Egypt. And then that's when even his household followed. And that's how they were given somewhere to live, because they were related to Joseph, who was the governor at that time. Now, but there were a special seed from Abraham. And God had to follow, because there was a promise that he promised Abraham. Now let's go to the promise in Genesis chapter 17. We want to see what Abraham was promised. Right?
Verse 4.
Right, so verse 4.
As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee,
right?
And thou shalt be a father of many nations.
Right.
Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham.
Right.
For a father of many nations have I made thee.
Right. And
I will make thee exceeding fruitful.
Right.
And I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee.
Right.
And I will establish my covenant between me and thee,
right,
and thy seed after thee in their generations.
Right.
For an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee.
Now, there is a promise there. He is the father of all the people that are going to be saved. Because that's why we find there, he has been promised to circumcise his children. Next, he had been given a covenant of the land. Go to the verse where you show the covenant of the land. Right?
And I will...
What verse is that?
Verse 8.
Verse 8, yeah.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee,
right,
the land wherein thou art a stranger,
right,
all the land of Canaan,
right,
for an everlasting possession.
Was our father Abraham given the land of Canaan as a promise, as a covenant promise? The answer is yes. But who are his children? At that time, they were Israelites. And at this time, that's why we call ourselves Israel by the Spirit. But we are not those Israel. We are because of something. Go to Galatians 3, verse 29.
And if ye be Christ,
right,
then are ye Abraham's seed,
right,
and heirs according to the promise.
What promise? Of the land. Did you hear? There were covenant promises there. One of them is the land. I will give the land of Canaan, you and all your children. Now, here we are being told by Ash, the book of Ash, October 22. It says here, when God brought the children of Israel out of Egypt to possess the land of Canaan, he did so to fulfill the promise made to Abraham 400. So, if that promise was made to Abraham, who is supposed to get hold of the promise? At that time when they were coming out of Egypt, it was the Israelites. But here we have been told, if ye be of Christ, you are also Abraham's seed, as according to which promise? The promise of the land. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? He was promised him and his seed. And the seed we have found, if you be Christ, you are also heirs according to the promise of what? Of the seed. Of what? Of circumcision. Of what? All the covenant promises given to Abraham, right? But we want to know who is going to inherit those covenant promises. Since the Israelites, God had extended the gospel to the Gentiles. Now, who is going to inherit those covenant promises? Go to Prophets and Kings, page 713. Right?
Verse 1, point 1.
Right, what does it say?
That which God proposed to do for the world through Israel,
right,
the chosen nation,
right,
he will finally accomplish through his church on earth today.
Right. This very church, the Advent believers, this promise has been extended to them because it was promised to Abraham's seed. It was first with the Israelites when they walked out of Egypt. But now also with those who are Christ, they are also heirs to the promise which was given. And now Sister White is telling us that that which was promised to Israel is also going to be inherited by his church today. Now read on.
He has let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen.
He knows, right at this time, we are not keeping the feast, are we? That is the covenant promise which was given to Abraham. But he knows the church is not keeping the feast, or the feast in their correct dates. He knows that. But he says, that very time they are not keeping the feast. They have been led to other husbandmen. Do you understand? Like the lesson on Hosea, it says the mother, it calls the children lo ruhama and lo ami, meaning lo in Hebrew is no, not my children, not my. So we are in the phase where God is saying, you are not my children if you are not keeping the feast. But here he says, he has let his vine to other husbandmen. If you let your wife to other husbandmen, it means it's a prostitute. That's why I say, plead with your mother. Plead with your mother. So that you take off the low ruhama. Instead you are ruhama. And you take off the low army. Instead you are army. So we have to plead. How do we plead? By going back to the covenant promises. Then God calls us ruhama instead of low ruhama. And calls us army instead of low army. Do you understand now these prophecies? Now read on there.
He has let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen.
Yeah.
Even to his covenant-keeping people.
Right.
Who faithfully render him the fruits in their seasons.
Right.
Never has the Lord been without true representatives on this earth.
Never has the Lord been without true representatives who keep the covenant promises on this earth. In each generation, there is someone doing it, right?
Who have made his interests their own.
Right.
These witnesses for God are numbered among the spiritual Israel.
Right.
And to them will be fulfilled all the covenant promises made by Jehovah to his ancient
That's
people.
why he's numbering them. In Numbers 144,000. Do not fool yourself and say there is a time when the whole church will keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus. Don't fool yourself. They will be numbered. That's why he's numbering the 144,000 from spiritual Israel. So because it's not everyone, they are numbered. And Sister White says, he will have representative in the spiritual Israel. They are numbered few. You might be the only one in your church. One. You might be two. You have two somebody. But you might be the only one in there. You understand? So he has numbered them. And this will fulfill all the covenant promises promised to Abraham. Now let's get back to our study. And our study is saying, when he took these Israelites out of Egypt, it was to go back to the covenant promises. It was not, now the next sentence says, he did so to fulfill the promise made to Abraham 430 years before. But we must not think because God will fulfill his promises to Israel that he does so unconditionally. There is a condition to it. And if you do not meet that condition, he won't fulfill the covenant promise to you. There is a condition. And the condition, we saw it very well. Go to the next paragraph. The conditions.
The conditions upon which they could, as a nation, remain in the land will plainly appear when we consider the agreement or covenant made between God and Israel before they entered the land God had promised their fathers.
Right.
Moses, acting as the mediator between God and the people, came to the people with these words.
Now, that is the condition. Let's go to the condition. It's on Exodus chapter 19, verse 4 to 6. Read for me.
Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians,
right?
And how I bear you on eagle's wings.
We know how they went out of Egypt when they were crossing the Red Sea. First of all, the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues in Egypt. They were all revealing who God was. And then they were crossing the Red Sea. They were on eagle's wings. That's what God is saying. Now, he says, ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bear you on eagle's wings. Read on. Mm-hmm.
And brought you unto myself.
Right.
Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people.
We are not only people because we worship on Sabbath. We are people and a peculiar treasure because we have the commandments and the faith of Jesus. If we lack the faith of Jesus, cease ye from calling yourself a church of God. You can only be a church of God with the two. The commandments and the faith of Jesus. That's what made Israel a peculiar nation. Now, read on.
For all the earth is mine.
Right.
And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests.
Right.
And a holy nation.
Right.
These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
That was Exodus chapter 19 verse 4 to 6. So you see, there is a condition to be called peculiar nation. There is a condition to be given the covenant promises. We have to make sure God's promise for us to be a peculiar, we have to make sure to have the commandments and the faith of Jesus. Don't talk about the Sabbath only and the 10 commandments. The world is talking still about the same. But for us to be distinct, we have the faith of Jesus. And the faith of Jesus is what we are talking about to prepare for the coming of Christ. Do you understand? And read on there.
Here, the conditions on which they should be a peculiar treasure and a holy nation was obedience to this voice.
Right.
God also showed his willingness, power, and right to give them the land by their words. For all the earth is mine.
Right.
Which implies the right to give it, or any portion of it, to whomsoever he pleases.
Right.
And if they were a peculiar treasure above all people, a willingness to give them a national existence in it.
Now, that's why when we follow the history, you'll find that's when they went to Egypt, to Israel. Next, they are in Babylon. And after that, they are backwards and forwards. When they did not meet that condition of keeping the commandments and the faith of Jesus, those two with them, God will wipe them out. Go to Babylon. And when they promised they will keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus, they went back. So that's why we say, do not be Babylon, because you have left the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus, what is it? That's what God gave the Israelites when they went out of Egypt. That's why he assembled them on Mount Sinai to give them the commandments and the faith of Jesus. Let's see what they were given. Let's hear. The people agreed on that sermon.
The people agreed to perform the required obedience in these words.
Right.
And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord had spoken we will do.
Now that is Exodus chapter 21 to 23. You can find what we are reading from. Right?
And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Then follows the preparation to hear the voice of God as he proclaims his law in awful majesty from Mount Sinai.
Right.
The people now desired Moses to act as a mediator. They fearing to hear the voice of God anymore. And Moses then goes up before the Lord, and God gives him some judgments.
One.
Or decisions of the highest court.
Right.
Or the ministration of the law in certain cases that applies peculiarly to Israel while sojourning in Canaan. These judgments occupy chapters 21 to 23.
We are told they were given judgments on Mount Sinai. And what?
The next paragraph.
Yeah.
In chapter 24,
right,
we have an account of the confirmation of the covenant.
Right.
Thus, Moses returns to the people and relates the judgments.
Right.
And all the people agree again to perform all that the Lord has required.
Right.
Moses then writes the conditions, laws and judgments.
What did he write? What did he write? As he understood it from God, the laws and the judgments, and what?
Of the commandment of the covenant in a book, which is called the Book of the Covenant. Then follows the signing and sealing of the agreement. But the Bible description is brief, so I give it entire. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said,
So you see, the people had to make an agreement with God first. Now, when we are a covenant-keeping people, there is an agreement to keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus. That's why Revelation will say, here are the patience of the saints who keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus. Now, you cannot claim to keep the faith of Jesus when you only keep the 10 commandments. You should keep both the 10 commandments and the faith of Jesus, which is the gospel, and which are the feasts. We have seen that in Nahum chapter 1 verse 15. These are the feasts, and this is the gospel. Matthew 24 says, we'll go into all the world for a witness, because God knew exactly that there are people who will team up to refuse the gospel of the kingdom. So it's only done as a witness, and the end shall come. So when you hear the gospel of the feast now, you hear the faith of Jesus being proclaimed, and you now know that it's the gospel of the kingdom, and the end is nigh. Now let's go to just there. Go back to the topic where we were just below. We want to know how this come about. The faith of Jesus. How does it come about, so that we are all ready to proclaim? How do we come about with that? We will take an extract of how this comes about from another book called Broadside Way. The Broadside Way, April. Let me give you the correct chapter. The Broadside Way. Have you found it?
Yeah, found it.
Right. Read it from
April 1.
Yeah, April 1.
Okay. In February.
It's just the same as early writings, page 55. But Broadside Way is exactly the same. It's maintained by the estates, because the quotation on early writing, page 55, was cut. Somebody deliberately removed the other portion. That's why we take the whole original context of it, not only from early writing, but where the remainder was taken off, so that we know exactly how does it happen that we proclaim. How did this gospel come about to us? We know it should come. The gospel of the faith of Jesus, it should come. If God is so loving to have us get saved, he will give us. But it's right in process. But how did it come about? We saw last week that Malachi chapter 3 was saying, behold, I will send what? Elijah. So it says, behold, I will send Elijah. No, I don't know. I don't want that one. Elijah, the messenger, who will prepare, who will teach all the things. Now you know which are all the things. All the things are the faith of Jesus and the holy law. 10 commandments, the law, and the faith of Jesus. That's the whole thing. Because why is Elijah being sent? God has seen that in our period, we only had the commandments. We didn't have the faith of Jesus. Though we're talking about it, Sister White confirmed, we're only talking about it, but we don't even know what it is. It shows Christ being crucified, why he came to be crucified, the laws of the sanctuary, all those laws of the sanctuary that make us a peculiar treasure. These are the ones that are in the gospel or in the faith of Jesus. So, but it has to come in our time when we were worshiping without this faith of Jesus and thinking, we are now ready because we have the 10 commandments. All of a sudden, we see the faith of Jesus coming to break our silence when we think we are almost ready to walk in the pearly gates. But God sends. How did he send that? Now let's see from this vision which Sister White gave on the broadside way in April. She saw what will comprise the coming of that gospel of the kingdom into our present, to be prepared for the coming of Christ. Let's read from there. Broadside way, April 1, February, or in February 1845. That was the time. You know, Sister White had just started in 1844. So in 1845 was given that vision. God knew that up until 2020, the faith of Jesus wasn't even known. But she now was shown how it will start about. Let's read, right?
In February 1845, I had a vision of events commencing with the midnight cry.
Right.
I saw a throne, and on it sat the Father and the Son.
Right.
I gazed on Jesus' countenance and admired his lovely person. The Father's person I could not behold, for a cloud of glorious light covered him. I asked Jesus if his Father had a form like himself. He said he had, but I could not behold it. For said he, if you should once behold the glory of his person, you would cease to exist.
Right.
Before the throne, I saw the Advent people, the church, and the world.
Right. Listen, after seeing what was in heaven, we know there is the Father and the Son. You know, she's seeing all that. Now she was now reflected to the Advent people. Who are these Advent people? Us. It's us. She's now seeing exactly at this time. There is a particular moment in heaven which was peculiar in our history, right?
Okay. I saw a company bow down before the throne,
right?
Deeply interested,
right?
While the
Bible calls kneeling bow down.
Yes.
When you say let's bow down, it's kneeling. So, Sister White saw in the Advent people a company, not the whole Advent people, a company kneeling. Right? The ones that you call Fukamists. Yeah, but Sister White was saying, bow down. After this incident, God had to show her for a particular reason. Why would she be shown that incident of people kneeling? A company, not the whole church. A company kneeling. Meaning, if a company was kneeling, what was happening to the rest was standing. Right? Did you see people kneeling? And while others were standing. Did you? That's what Sister was shown. Right? Right.
I saw a company bow down before the throne, deeply interested.
Right.
Wow, the most of them stood up disinterested and careless.
Right.
Those who were bowed before the throne would offer up their prayers and look to Jesus.
Right.
Then he would look to his Father.
Right.
And appeared to be pleading with him.
Right.
A light would come from the Father to the Son, and from the Son to the little praying company.
So she saw people who were kneeling, deeply interested in God. Did you hear that? And then God will respond by giving a light to the Son, who is Jesus. And that light came straight to those who were kneeling. This is what I'm hearing from that. Right? Let's hear.
A light would come from the Father to the Son, and from the Son to the praying company.
Right.
Then I saw an exceeding bright light come from the Father to the Son, and from the Son it waved over the people before the throne.
Right.
But few would receive this great light.
So while they were kneeling, then God had to send a brighter light. When you call it light, it's a message, isn't it? So a message which is more than the kneeling message came from God. You know, when people say, oh, careful of those with new light, they did not know it is coming from God. Right?
But few would receive this great light.
Right.
Many came out from under it and immediately resisted it.
And even some were kneeling. Some stood out and said, "Oh, this light is too bright for me." Out to join those who were standing. Right? Mm-hmm.
This company all resist. Many came out from under it and immediately resisted it.
Right.
Others were careless and did not cherish the light.
There are some who were just careless. Have you seen people, some praying and someone is busy chewing a gum? Just careless like that. Or even standing with the hands on the pocket. But they are talking to God. You know, sometime I saw somebody on Facebook praying, saying to people, "Let us pray." On the pulpit was scratching while he was praying. Standing, scratching. I said, what do we take God to be? Somebody who doesn't, when we are closing our eyes, we think God is also closing his eyes. He doesn't see what is happening. God is seeing. And your action shows what is in the heart. If you're in the heart, you are deeply interested, you will prove by what is outside that you are. But if you are outside, you are chewing a gum and your hands, you are scratching and you are talking to God, though you are closing your eyes, that all shows irreverence. Now, we are seeing an incident which occurred in the history of the Advent people, where people were kneeling, where others were standing. But what was happening from heaven to those who were kneeling, none of those who were standing would understand. Now, read on.
Others were careless and did not cherish the light, and it moved off from them.
Right.
Some cherished it and went and bowed down with the little praying company.
And there are some who were not kneeling, who saw this is a good thing. And when they said it is a good thing, they joined in. And the light also came to them. Right?
This company all received the light.
Right.
And rejoiced in it.
So the light wasn't received by everybody as a company. And some will say, no, here, this side, we don't have those who are kneeling. People were busy hunting for people who are kneeling. Hunting for people who are being used by God. Hunting everywhere. People were acting like mad people. Hunting for anyone kneeling. That was a criminal offense to kneel. I understand. I remember. Sometimes we were sent even to the police for kneeling. Police! I was there myself. I was there. We were 3 inside the police station for the police to decide whether we should be prosecuted or not for kneeling for God. This happened, brethren. This happened. That's why I say people are acting like drunkards. If you send somebody for kneeling for God, you are a drunkard. Really. It's not charging there. But God was witnessing that incident. It happened. I have it in black and white. It happened. But it is written. Right? Read on. Read.
This company all received the light,
right,
and rejoiced in it, as their countenances shone with its glory.
That was a marvelous light. And the countenances were shining because, we got it. We got it. It was from heaven. Right?
And I saw the Father rise from the throne, and in a flaming chariot go into the Holy of Holies,
right,
within the veil, and did sit.
Right.
There I saw thrones that I had never seen before.
Right.
Then Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him.
Right.
And I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude.
This is why she mentioned 1845, because some people would think it was the time Christ went into the Holy of Holies. It was before, when he went to the Holy of Holies, when thrones were set and whatever. It was 1844 when he entered the Holy of Holies on 22 October. But here it's in 1845. Sister White is seeing something future to her. Now, she saw the sun now rising, and those who were bowed rose with him. You know, much as those who were kneeling were being disfellowshipped in these churches. I know some brethren were doing it out of ignorance, and God should forgive them if they acknowledge they are wrong. But when you are disfellowshipping people for kneeling for God, you know, let me tell you one thing. It was a decided factor for you to do that, so that the people will arise with God and walk out. And where is God right now? Out with the people. Is it true? Yes, it is. The scripture says so. I saw those who were bowed. I remember one night when we were told, we were a company, we were told tomorrow there is a church board sitting to disfellowship us. You know, he never knew what that night meant to us. We went, and the whole night we didn't sleep. We went to pray, so that we have never in our lives been without a church. We pleaded with God all night until an angel came. An angel came and found us kneeling outside. An angel spoke and said, you. Yeah, an angel came. You. What you are doing is good. Go back to the house and continue praying, because it was dark in the bush. There was a house nearby where we had come out to go and pray. And the angel said, you get back to the house. What you are doing there is good. As for this church board tomorrow, let it go ahead. After that assurance, we were happy to have it to go ahead. And the next Sabbath, we were all out, disfellowshipped, for kneeling, and we received letters. Each member received letters to say, we are disfellowshipping you for kneeling in church. It was in black and white. I have it. I have mine for proof. But the assurance we got from God to say, you get back to the house, it was like we are in a whirlwind. After kneeling, we are in a whirlwind. And when I came home the next day, I found somebody, a great man. And you know, I'm trying to tell you so that you believe this thing happened. So that you know it happened. In other parts of the world should know. You have a right to know. I have a right to say what I went through in my experience in my spiritual life. I have a right to do that. Another man, I won't mention his name, an old man who was really worried about that. And that man wasn't even part of our group. But he went because he knew this is what is going to happen. And he was worried. He went into a small hill and was praying there. And when I came to my house, that man put a small card under my letterbox, and I picked it. And the man said, I have come to, sister, I have come to see you, but I found you were not there. But I went to pray, and I was praying for something like 45 minutes. I was kneeling, talking to God. God, intervene. What is this that is about to happen? So this man said, I was kneeling for 45 minutes, and until I saw a hand pass through and gave me this card. The card which he brought was brought by a hand, and the hand said to this man, read. And he said, and the voice said, read again. And he said, I read. It says, my people are, what was written on the card? My people, I know them. They will overcome. They have already overcome. And it says, go and present it to the brethren. He was not even part of our group of people who were kneeling. He was not part, but he was given. He was an elderly person. And by now I think he's now dead. But he came to give that paper. He stuck it in my letterbox, and I read it. And it confirmed what we heard the previous night. And I said, thank you, God, for giving us such a message. Now, I'm saying this vision, this very vision, which was shown to Sister White, it actually happened. We saw it with our eyes. If it didn't, then tell us when you expect this vision. Tell us when, where people were kneeling and some were standing. Tell us where this vision is. If it is in the past, after 1844, tell us. Because Sister White said it is in 1845. She was shown that vision. Now, read on. And I pity my brethren. Because when I went to the police, one of them, there were so many ministers there. They stood up, they said, yes, we know she's kneeling. But whether it is written in black and white or not in the Bible, spiritual prophets, we do not want to see it in our churches. So the police officer was there said, so do you hear that? They say they don't want to hear it. You know, the police officer said he was also a member of another church which is different, and said, I read from our church that when you go to people and witness, and when the people don't accept you, you should shake your dust from the feet. Then says, shake your dust to me. Then I said, I won't shake my dust for my brethren. But before I finish, because I knew on that verse in Matthew, when it says, when you shake the dust, it will be more tolerable in Sodom than to them. Then I said, I can't shake the dust for my brethren. But they said, before I finish my sentence, the whole crowd said, shake your dust, shake your dust, shake your dust. I heard in my ears, as if somebody saying to Jesus when he was about to die on the cross, crucify him, release Barabbas, crucify him. It was like that ringing in my ear. I said, all right, I'll shake the dust. I did shake it. It will be more tolerable in Sodom than someone who shake the dust. And I remember on that year, in that particular country, the rain stopped. It stopped. Famine and famine until today. Famine and famine, because the dust was shaken. But let me tell you, brethren, this is not the story. We want to prepare for the coming of Christ. We want the people who want, and I'm not giving anyone as a grudge, and I'm saying, God, forgive anyone who did anything with ignorance, through ignorance. But let's move on. Let's push on. If we're supposed to push, we are pushing to the mark. Never mind what happened, but we are reading it because it is in the spiritual prophecy and the volumes and the Bible for what we have done. Because of love, we want to all march together. Ask for forgiveness. March together so that God will forgive us. Read on that vision. Let's hear. When they came out, this is what I want to... The bowed company, they all rose with Christ. Repeat that one, right?
Okay. This company all received the light and rejoiced in it, and their countenances shone with the glory. And I saw the Father rise from the throne, and in a flaming chariot go into the Holy of Holies, within the veil, and did sit. There I saw thrones that I had never seen before. Then Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him. And I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose. And they were left in perfect
do you see
darkness.
There was a separation there? There was some who remained, who were not bowed. But those who were bowing, they went out with Jesus. According to that dream, isn't it? Read on.
Then Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him. And I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose. So, and they were left in perfect darkness.
Those who remained were left in perfect darkness. So what was the reason for this kneeling? God was selecting his, where he would give the gospel for the righteousness, for the faith of Jesus. He was selecting people to give this gospel. So that as it was rejected in 1888, it comes with Revelation chapter 18 to come to, it should show in the Bible. Go to Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 45. When this gospel came, it should be there in the Bible also. We found it in the spiritual prophets, but in the Bible it should say, in chapter 20, verse 45.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the south, and drop thy word toward the south.
So, no, now it is when the Bible says south, it's the countries in the south. When it says north, is the countries in the north. When it says east, is the countries in the east. And it says west, is countries in the west. So God is specific and saying this word or this message, drop it where? In the south. So you know which countries are in the south. Yeah? In the southern Africa. That's where we find these countries. And what?
And prophesy against the forest of the south field.
So the countries, they are full of forests. So because when you go to the east, most countries are not full of forests. Because there's wilderness, isn't it? But when you go to the south, they are thick of forests. Right? And
say to the forest of the south, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee.
Right. And so these forests now, we know when you talk about a tree in the prophecy, a tree is leaders in the south. This word came to you. You know that. The Bible says, go to the forest in the south. The word of people kneeling went to you. You know that. So God is saying, prophesy and put that word to the south. And what?
I will kindle a fire in thee.
Right.
And it shall devour every green tree.
Right.
In thee.
Right.
And every dry tree.
Right.
The flaming flame shall not be quenched.
Right.
And all faces from the south to the north shall be burnt therein.
Now, it says in another version, this word will be felled by the grass. So the leaders are forests, are trees. And the laymen, the laity, is grass. So they all know. Green grass and the forest and trees, they all know about this. They know. And God is saying, prophesy to them. And then they felt the heat. Go to the version of Good News Version and hear the same verse. Yeah.
45.
Right.
The Lord spoke to me. Mortal man, he said, look towards the south.
Right.
Speak against the south and prophesy against this forest of the south.
Right.
Tell the southern forest.
Right.
To hear what the Tell the southern forest to hear what the sovereign Lord is saying.
Here, when that word came to the south, it was coming from the sovereign. This is what the sovereign said when he says, Sister Whitehead, I've been receiving letters about people asking me what position we should occupy when we are addressing God. Did that word come to the south? Yes, it did. And it was from God. If we believe that the spirit which is in Sister White is the Spirit of God, is the Holy Spirit, with the same Holy Spirit which went to Jeremiah and Ezekiel and whatever, is still going to Sister White. That is the Spirit coming from the sovereign. Now here it says, prophesy and say this word. Can you approach God standing? Why in the south? Because it was part of their custom. In our culture, a child cannot give you food while standing. He has got to kneel. So God used what we are used to. God doesn't come in strange language. He comes in a language we understand. Now, read on.
Good News Version.
Right. About this fire.
Tell the southern forest
to
hear what the sovereign Lord is saying.
Right.
Look, I am starting a fire.
Yeah.
And it will burn up every tree in you.
Right.
Whether green or dry.
Right.
Nothing will be able to put it out.
No one will quench it. I remember someone coming to say, if it is of God, it will stay on. But if it is not of God, it will stop. But that person still cannot come and say, all right, I have proved it is of God. It doesn't. The people are used to talking and talking, not acting. So here it says that the fire won't be quenched. It won't be quenched. That's God himself saying that. And what?
Okay. To put it out.
Right.
It will spread from the south to the north.
Right.
And everyone will feel the heat of the flame.
Everyone will feel that heat of those flames. Of what? of the kneeling gospel which was there, right? Which was coming from God. And
they will all see that I, the Lord, set it on fire, and that no one can put it out.
Right. You see, when you were in that gospel, you were so confident. It was God in front of you. I remember one time I was coming to one of the meetings, and when I went there in that meeting, several of ministers came, and they call that meeting Zunde meetings and whatever. So when they came, I was so scared that, hey, when people who are against what you are preaching are there, you go in the morning, early morning, in the morning manna, people will be preaching against you that you are so embarrassed. Then I asked God, I said, I'm so embarrassed. In the morning, I know the morning manna will be heavily infested with discouraging words. Please, God, intervene. So I was with 3 friends. We slept in my car. And I said, oh, I know. At 3 o'clock, there is a prayer band meeting. So when the light is there for the prayer band, I'll go to the forest. I'll go out in the bush and pray. And pray for God to protect me. For the morning manna, I was so scared of it because it was heavily infested. And I knew I was going to be discouraged. People know how to discourage you with words. Inside that's why A.T. Jones and Wagner recanted. It was discouragement. So I said, I do not want to be discouraged. So we went with my friends. We went to pray in the bush when the prayer band was on. It was about 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. In the prayer band, the people were all assembled in the prayer band. This is a living testimony. I'm telling you what happened. So when this prayer band was still on, we are also in the bush, in the dark bush, praying, talking to God. Please protect us. This morning manna, we are scared of it. But when we went back into our car, the morning manna usually is about 6 o'clock in the morning. So the time for the morning manna, before the morning manna, it was a Sabbath morning. So we went out to have our freshening. We freshened up so that we are ready for the Sabbath. Me and my friends. So we went back to the car. We had already changed our tire, ready for the morning manna. But we stayed in our car. Because, in those meetings, we were so committed. People were sleeping outside in the bush like that. Everybody could see everyone is sleeping. So it came 6 o'clock. Then our hearts were saying, now the bell is going to ring for the morning manna. Our hearts were, but we still were praying to God. We prayed. We prayed. We prayed. Do you know, it went to 6 o'clock. We were wondering why everyone was sleeping. 6:30, everyone's still sleeping. 7 o'clock, everyone was still sleeping. After 7, now we are going to prepare to go to the real service. People were still in bed. Then we heard a cry from the camp asking people, okay, don't come for the morning manna. Pray in your blankets. We laughed our lungs up. We were so happy how God just came in to make sure everybody's sleeping. The morning manna wasn't there. It wasn't there. We asked for God to take it off. And the morning manna was, people were asleep, not ready for the morning. They did not know someone around them was asking that morning manna should be cancelled. And it was cancelled. It was so nice. If I had time, the whole day to tell you what was the experiences we were going through. These experiences we were going through, which were an encouragement, how God was working together with us. In that time, it needs a full month experience of just telling you what was happening. So we enjoyed. When the message of the Revelation 18 came, it was no jokes. It was really nice. And now we're enjoying in it. So read on and finish. Let's hear.
Ezekiel 20.
No. We have seen about the 5 states in the south. Go back to the broadside way. Okay. Sister White saw them coming out. Christ rose, and they rose with those who were bowed. repeat that statement for me.
Then Jesus arose up. Then Jesus rose up from the throne.
Right.
And the most of those who were bowed down arose with him.
Right.
And I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose.
So the kneelers are out. Right. Next.
And they were left in perfect darkness.
Right.
Those who rose up when Jesus did kept their eyes fixed on him
when
as
out,
he left the throne.
Out now, worshipping in their homes. They are fixing their eyes on Christ, isn't it? Right?
As he left the throne and led them out a little way.
Right?
Then he raised his right arm.
And what did he say?
And we heard his lovely voice saying,
right?
Wait here.
Right?
I am going to my Father to receive the kingdom.
Right?
Keep your garments spotless.
Right?
And in a little while, I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself.
That's the portion which was taken off from early writings. It's still there in broad sideway. It's still there, written for us. So why was it off? Because people don't believe in the kingdom. Now that portion is talking about the kingdom. Now read it again. What did Christ say?
Wait here.
Wait here.
I am going to my Father.
Right.
To receive the kingdom.
Right.
Keep your garments spotless.
Right.
And in a little while I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself.
Right.
And I saw a cloudy chariot.
Now, this is the kingdom now being established. You see where it is going, right? Because people didn't comprehend it. They now think they were supposed to open the cloud and go to heaven. But that portion is talking about how the kingdom is going to be established. Now, read on. Let's hear them.
And I saw a cloudy chariot.
Right?
With wheels like flaming fire.
Yeah?
And angels were all around it as it came where Jesus was.
Now, do we know that this cloudy chariot is going to come before the coming of Christ in the clouds? Now, where do we find it? Go to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15. When Christ is coming, he's not coming to take anybody yet. He comes with this chariot coming first to establish the kingdom. Read on there.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire,
right,
and with his chariots like a whirlwind.
Do you see where he is coming with chariot? He is not coming with clouds now. He is, what are we waiting for? That's why he says, behold, I'm coming as a thief. Why? Because we have been made to prepare for the coming which is next after this one. This one is the imminent one which we should be preparing for when he's coming in a chariot to establish the kingdom. This is what broadside way is talking about. He's saying, I saw the chariot now go to Jesus to now bring him to the kingdom. Right? And what is it there on Isaiah?
For behold, the Lord will come with fire,
right,
and with his chariot like a whirlwind,
right,
to render his anger with fury and his rebuke
so
with
this
flames
time he's not
fire.
coming to take anyone. He's coming with anger. Why anger? Because people did not keep the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus is what he's angry about, because that's what describes his ministry when he came to die on the cross. It is the sanctuary laws, the very feasts that we are rejecting, right? And what?
For by fire,
by fire,
and by his sword, will the Lord plead with all
many.
flesh.
We have read it in Ezekiel 9. That the very first thing when he comes to establish the kingdom is the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Come not near any with a mark. Why is the mark there? It has the two laws, the commandments and the faith of Jesus is there on the phone. So it says anyone without the commandments and the faith of Jesus, go slaughter. It's Ezekiel 9. Now here is describing the same Isaiah 66 and saying he is coming by fire and sword to what? To what?
And the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Right? Is the Bible saying? Straightforward. And?
They that sanctify themselves.
Right?
And purify themselves.
Right?
In the gardens behind one tree in the midst.
So we say the tree is a leader, isn't it? So behind one leader. Who is one leader? Yes, one person. When you are kneeling, you are told, wait. This conference isn't approved. Behind one leader. That's what God is saying. And what?
Eating swine's flesh.
There you go, your health and temperance.
And the abomination.
And someone will tell you, you go to heaven, even when you eat meat, you are going to heaven. But here, it's saying eating swine's flesh and the abomination. What is an abomination? Someone says, when he says stop eating this, it's an abomination. Yeah. It becomes an abomination, right?
And the mouse.
And the mouse
shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
Right. And what?
For I know their works.
I know their works.
And their thoughts.
Their thoughts.
It shall come.
Right.
That I will gather all nations and
then
tongues.
He stands with the 144,000 to give them marching orders to gather all nations and tongues. And what?
They shall come and see my glory.
Where? And what?
And I will set a sign among them.
Right.
And I will send those that escape.
The 144,000 is kept
unto the nations.
Is kept when because they had a sign unto all nations. And what?
To Tarshish.
Pool.
Lad. That draw the bow. To Tubal. To Javan. To the isles afar off.
These are names in their original names before the independence changed them. Right? And
to Tarshish, Pool, Lud, that draw the bow,
right.
To Tubal, to Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard of my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles.
Now the gospel now is going to the other side. It has finished with the house of God. It's going to the Gentiles now to collect them. But this is our crucial moment where we should be grasping the faith of Jesus right now. For this coming comes before the 666. That's why I say the 666 is for the Gentiles. Because when the gospel goes out with the 144,000, the nationals and the laws, the 666 now starts as a test to them. We can't be tested with that, brethren. We are tested by the faith of Jesus, which is the other law which we're supposed to be keeping, the 10 commandments, and the faith of Jesus, which is the gospel. Right? And what happens?
And they shall bring all your brethren
right.
an offering unto the Lord.
Right.
Out of all nations upon horses.
You see, the transport is provided.
And in chariots. And in litters. And upon mules. And upon swift beasts.
Right.
To my holy mountain Jerusalem.
Not to heaven yet. But that's where the gathering process occurs. This is why I said, when Israel was taken out of Egypt, what was the main purpose? The main purpose was for them to keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus. With the gospel. That's why this is what was given Moses. For them, now in our time, we don't have sacrifices of animals. But still the times of the feasts are there. These are our sanctuary laws. These times are still there. Though they don't have the animal, but the times are still for us to keep. Because even the animals were being slaughtered on the Sabbath. But the animals were taken off by the cross. But the Sabbath still remains. And it's still the same for the Passover. It's still the same for the new moon. It's still the same for the camp meeting. It's still the same for the Day of Atonement. It's still there. Even in 1844, the counting of the time was still there. Christ entered the Hall of Holies in the Day of Atonement, which is 22 October 1844. You see, God was still counting 1844. Well after the cross, He was still counting the Day of Atonement. So the times are still there with us. Only the animals were taken off, which represented the body of Christ. But everything else, even Colossians chapter 2, verse 16 says, everything is still a shadow of things to come. So you don't blot a shadow. The new moon, the Sabbath, in verse 16 says, new moon, the Sabbath, the holidays, everything, the meat, which is the bread and wine, the drink, which is the wine, they are still a shadow of things to come. Do you nail a shadow? Even the Israelites, when they were killing the animals, they wouldn't nail the animals. They wouldn't stop until Christ came. Now, if all these things in verse 16, Colossians 2, verse 16, are still a shadow of things to come, do you nail them? Do you nail a shadow? Because they still have future fulfillment. Now, we have seen the reason why God wants us to be a peculiar people, to have these two laws. One, the commandments. Again, the faith of Jesus. Right? Let's go back to our vision We haven't finished with the vision. Where we are is very crucially important, right? Where you were.
And I saw a cloudy chariot with wheels like flaming fire.
Right.
And angels were all around it as it came where Jesus was.
Right.
He stepped into the chariot and was borne into the holiest where the Father sat.
Right.
There I beheld Jesus as he was standing before the Father, a great high priest. On the hem of his garment was a bell and a pomegranate.
Right.
Then Jesus shewed me the difference between faith and feeling.
Right. Now, Jesus is showing Sister White a difference between faith and feeling. What is faith? This is the faith of the saints. What is it? The gospel. Not a feeling that, oh, powerful, I heard something when you only heard the 10 Commandments. No, the faith should be the gospel for you to be keeping the gospel. And that is where the feeling is. That's the song of Moses and the Lamb. That is the song of Moses and the Lamb, which is the keeping of the feast. Now, read on there.
Then Jesus showed me the difference between faith and feeling. And I saw those who rose up with Jesus send up their faith to him in the holiest,
right,
and pray, my Father, give us thy Spirit.
Right.
Then Jesus would breathe upon them the Holy Ghost.
Right.
In the breath was life.
So you see, this all is happening when they're outside. When they're sending all their faith and prayers. Now, this, when they went out, nobody who stayed in knew what is happening outside. You understand? There's so much. Even when the Israelites went out of Egypt, so many things happened in the wilderness, isn't it? So many things that they never... What we heard when they were in Egypt was them making the bricks. That's it. That's just bondage and bricks. This is what was there. But when they were out, that's when so many things were heard by all nations around, hearing how they were in the Exodus. So here, when they were out, then we are being told that that's when they were being given the breath, the Holy Spirit. Read on.
In the breath was light, power, and much love.
You see what is happening outside? Much love, joy, and peace. Outside there, there's much love. That's why we saw to those 3 Hebrews who were cast into the fire, Meshach, Abednego, in the time of Daniel. There were 3 who were cast in, and they were bound when they were cast in. But when they were inside, there were now 4, with the Son of God, who was inside, and they were free, without being bound, but in fire. Do you understand? So here, when they were out, they were in fire, they were happy in the Holy Ghost. You understand? And at the same time, free and peace. This is what I heard from them. Read on.
Then I turned to look at the company,
right,
who was still bowed before the throne.
So the flash now goes back to those who remained, who did not go with those who were kneeling. This is what I'm hearing.
They did not know that Jesus had left it.
They did not know. Did you? Is there somewhere where we read that Christ had left? Let's read from 5T, page 217. They did not know Christ is gone. This is what I'm hearing from the spirit of prophecy. They did not know he's gone. You can do anything, but when he's gone, he's gone. It's like when they take your license. When you are driving, they remove your license. They say you have made an offense, take off the license. Does it mean you cannot drive? You still can drive. But the thing is that you don't have a license. That's the thing. There is no license. It's gone, but the driving skills you still have. You can preach and do everything, but the license is important. The license is important. Now here, Sister White said they did not know Christ had gone. Now let's hear from 5T, the Testimonies for the Church, volume 5, page 217.
Where says the church?
Right.
The church,
right,
has turned back from following Christ, her leader,
right,
and is steadily retreating toward Egypt.
Did you see when the Israelites were working out, that Christ took them out with a pillar of fire and the cloud by day, fire by night? Was Christ still left behind with those who remained burying those bonds. And was he left there? Where was he? Pillar of fire, cloud by day, fire by night. Out. He was not there. Now here, the same thing. It says it has went back. The church went back to Egypt. But what happened? Where is Moses? Towards. That's where the feast started. Heading for Canaan 3 times a year. Deuteronomy 16, verse 16. 3 times a year. We thank God for such a revelation. After such an incident, that's when we knew that, right, the gospel is a gospel order. It has got its own order. And if you don't read from the scriptures, you will remain thinking you are okay when you are left behind. And then Jeremiah will tell you that they will say, the harvest is past. The summer is ended. We are not saved. Why? Because they were left behind. Do you understand? Read on there.
Then I turned to look at the company who were still bowed before the throne.
Now he says, just see who remained. This is what I'm saying. Straightforward from the scriptures.
They did not know that Jesus had left it.
Right?
Satan appeared to be by the throne.
Somebody took over.
Trying to carry on the work of God.
Right?
I saw them look up to the throne and pray.
Right?
My Father, give us thy spirit.
Give us the spirit.
Then Satan would breathe.
Who is giving this?
Then Satan will breathe upon them an unholy influence.
And they say powerful to that.
In it, there was light and much power, but no sweet love, joy and peace.
No joy and peace.
Satan's object was to keep
them
deceived.
Entertained. Right?
Keep them deceived.
Right?
And to draw back and deceive God's children.
You know, in the dark ages, Satan wanted to deceive us by changing these times and laws. Now we are hearing that he is keeping people deceived. How is he deceiving them? Deceiving them by not keeping these times and laws, which were changed in the dark ages. So now the devil is keeping them deceived. No, those were nailed to the cross. No. Just go any date. Oh, no, just eat anything and call it supper, even if it is not at night. You cannot eat supper in the day, can you? But here we are told by Sister White, Satan wanted to keep them deceived. Of course, there was power. It says there was power, but there was not sweet love. Power was there, powerful. That's what we hear, powerful. Then you say, powerful. Has the faith of Jesus been incorporated with the 10 Commandments? Then you find the faith of Jesus, which are the feast, is being nailed. Then you say, what is this power, which is powerful? What is this power? I understand. Now, read on.
I saw one after another leave the company who were praying to Jesus in the holiest.
And of course.
And go and join those before the throne.
Of course, when Moses went with the Israelites in the wilderness, so many people perished there. So many people, Korah and Dathan's 250 princesses one day covered by the soil. And next 3,000 something people dying. So many people. But it does not prove that Moses wasn't leading the multitude. He entered with only 2 who walked out. Out of all those who walked out of Egypt, 2 entered Canaan. The rest were younger than 20. Do we see young ones? Do we see young ones entering the Canaan right now? Do we see young elders, young pastors? It is a reputation of the type had it. The antitype should have it. Because the old ones, they are so much, the old ones, God doesn't really, agree with the old ones. Because in 5T, Testament for the Church, it says, in this warfare, few great men will be engaged. Read it for me.
Which one?
In T5, page 80.
The days are fast approaching when there will be great perplexity and confusion. Satan, clothed in angel robes, will deceive, if possible, the very elect.
Right.
There will be God's many and Lord's many. Every wind of doctrine will be blowing.
Right.
Those who have rendered supreme homage to science falsely so called will not be the leaders then.
Would you want it when it says God's many and Lord's many? Meaning people will just assemble people and say, do what I say. When God said do this, no. So what is that person assumed to be a God? If you're going to cluster people to go against God, you are a God's many. That's why God has allowed us to worship freely in our homes, so that, if you cluster so that we do something wrong, no, we can't do that. And then what?
Those who have trusted to intellect, genius, or talent,
right,
will not then stand at the head of the rank and fire.
So, who are those trusting in talents, geniuses? Those people we use to know that, this one has got a genius of leading. This one is this. There won't be. There is an exchange there. That's we have been told. They won't be head of rank and file. And what?
They did not keep pace with the light.
What was the light doing now? Now the light is on the faith of Jesus. But they're still hung on the 10 Commandments only. But God is saying 10 Commandments and the faith of Jesus. Now, they won't be leaders then, isn't it?
Those who have proved themselves unfaithful
to what?
Will not then be
unfaithful to what? To the gospel commission of the 10 Commandments and the faith of Jesus. They won't be the head by then, right? If they want to lead, they should
keep pace.
They should keep pace with the light. The light now is on the faith of Jesus. We have heard enough of the 10 Commandments. We know them now. We don't even need to be taught about the 10 Commandments, because we know them there. But what we need to be taught is the faith of Jesus. We cannot see Christ without taking both of them. And then,
in the last solemn work,
few
great men will be engaged.
That's where I am looking for. How many are those great men? We say the old people were all taken off in the time of the first Exodus. Why God had to choose anyone under 20? Only 2 were above 20, Caleb and Joshua. But why did he choose anyone under 20? Because they take him to the word. Once he says jump, they jump. Once he says sleep, they sleep. Once he says don't eat this, they stop. Once he says that's one benefit of young ones. You understand? You have a company. You have got a company and you want to employ people for the work. Who are the best candidates of your company? In other places it says not under 50. Some will say not under 40. Not under, but God is saying not under 20 in the time of Joshua. All the under 20s, all the above 20s, he didn't want. He only wanted the under 20. Because he now needed people who do not argue much with him. All those who were above 20 were arguing, this what exegesis, scatologically, all those words that annoy God. He does not want them. He wants the children who not question. He has said it in Isaiah 58. Go to Isaiah 58. He has said he's going to use the young ones. If you are an old and you submit to God and keep pace with the light, He will take. That's why we have a few here and there old ones, but most of them are young ones. They take Him to the word. And Isaiah 58 verse 12, what does it say?
And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places.
Right?
Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations.
Now this one says, they that shall be of thee. And actually these are the children. Go to Good News on that same one. We have to compare scripture to scripture. That's how we study. Scripture to scripture. So that we understand fully what the verse means. Yeah? What does it say?
Your people will rebuild what has long been in ruins.
Right. So they that will be of thee, your children, in the other version. If you go to Shona version, it says, so God has people who can do this job. It says, if you say you won't do it, you raise stones. And the stones are the young ones. The young ones, they are very quick. They just say this and they read. They are not lazy to read. No. They are not always yawning and praying and sleeping. Yawning, praying and sleeping. No. They are reading. Yeah? And let's go back to the vision. Now they are out. And we have seen what happened to those who remained. You cannot fool us of what is happening when people are out there. The spirit of prophet says what is happening when people who remained. And what?
I saw one after another leave the company who were praying to Jesus in the holiest, and go and join those before the throne.
Right?
And they at once received the unholy influence of Satan.
Those who also left, those who were kneeling, they said they also went back and also received all those whatever they are receiving there. Yeah? And
the next
read on. Yeah.
About 4 months since I had a vision of events all in the future, I saw the time of trouble, such as never was.
So she passed through the time of trouble as well. Do you understand? So you see, it was things that were future to Sister White. And then?
Jesus told me it was the time of Jacob's trouble.
Right.
And that we should be delivered out of it by the voice of God.
Right.
Then I saw the 4 angels cease to hold the 4 winds.
Right.
And I
so she saw even
famine.
The time of trouble when the 4 winds have been let loose. Right.
I saw famine.
Right.
Pestilence and sword.
So she saw all this, what is happening. Pestilence, sword, famine. We have it now.
Nation rose against nation.
Do we have it now? Yes.
And the whole world was in confusion.
Right.
Then we cried to God and day and night for deliverance.
Right.
Until we began to hear bells on Jesus' garment.
Right.
And I saw Jesus rise up in the holiest.
Right.
And as he came out, we heard the tinkling of the bells.
We want to hear now when Christ is in the... People are saying he entered in the Holy of Holies in 1844. Now he's still there. But as he comes out, where is he going? Read on.
And I saw Jesus rise up in the holiest.
Right.
And as he came out, we heard the tinkling of the bells.
Right.
And knew that our high priest was coming out.
Right.
Then we heard the voice of God, which shook the heavens and the earth.
Right.
And gave the 144,000 the day and hour of Jesus' coming.
Right.
Then the saints were free, united, and full of the glory of God.
Do you see the death will be announced? Right?
For he has turned their captivity. And I saw a flaming cloud come where Jesus stood.
Watch there now, right?
Then Jesus laid off his priestly garment and put on his kingly robe and took his place on the cloud which carried him to the east.
Where does the cloud carry him to?
The east.
To the east. Not there where he stands in the cloud for the saints to hop in the cloud. No, he goes straight into Jerusalem, right?
Which carried him to the east,
right?
Where it first appeared to the saints on earth.
What were the saints doing? They were keeping that feast
in the east.
In the east. Did you hear that? And what?
A small black cloud,
right?
Which was the sign of the Son of Man,
right?
While the cloud was passing from the holiest to the east,
right?
Which took a number of days,
right?
The synagogue of Satan worshipped at the saints' feet.
Right. That's when even everyone now said, they were correct. They were right. First, the cloud does not stand there so that we hop in Thessalonians chapter 4. That is a later event. But this event, the cloud comes to the east and meets, Jesus meets with the saints first. This is what is, that's why that portion is off early writings. But it's there on its original context in Broadside Way in April 1845. It was written by Sister White. That cloud which carried Christ to meet the saints in the east.
Back to the east.
And it took days to go to meet the saints. This is not the coming of clouds that everybody is waiting for now. We should wait for that establishment of the kingdom in the east. And what? Right? So we understand why God wants the faith of Jesus now, wants us to keep the feasts now. Now we will go on these several weeks teaching about the preparation of the coming of Christ. But today we have taken that in as much so that we can understand what God wants us to do so that we are ready for the coming of Christ. It's a lot of things to be prepared so that we are, by the time we finish, you and I should be saying, we are ready now to meet Christ in the east when he comes to establish the kingdom of glory. May God bless us with these messages so that we can understand and be fully ready for this event which is going to happen. Believe it or me, it will be a great and dreadful day. Great to those who do the right thing and dreadful to those who resist. May God bless us.